Hey Hannah, how are you?
Good. Hey, girl. How's it going?
It's good. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Amazing. Well, before we get into our discussion about all things manifestation, please tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hi, guys. So I am Dr. Hannah Gammon, also known as Adalyn Aslyn. I am both a clinical psychologist and music artist based in LA. I've been practicing as a clinical psychologist for many years, and there was a little bit of a transition in terms of my career and what I was doing. And on the other side of it, I became a recording artist, which is honestly my dream come true. So it's exciting to be here talking about manifestation. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I love it. And I'm just so happy to have you because your career transition and just knowing you for so many years and now you're literally living your dream life, things are unfolding. Like that's what I want to promote and inspire people on my podcast is people who walk the walk, and you definitely do that. I look up to you in a lot of ways with that, so it's going to be really cool, asking you more questions about manifestation and how you incorporate it. And so I'm excited for the
Yeah.
listeners to learn more about you in that way.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about it because just as someone who's living it, it really is a thing. Like you really can manifest the life that you want for yourself. It's a matter of being honest and then doing a lot of the things we're going to be talking about. So, yeah.
Yay, cool. Well, every episode of this season, I'm just focusing on manifestation. Paige's Lessons has evolved. It started in 2021, just me talking by myself, sharing life lessons. And then I started interviewing guests. And then the podcast really every season has been around my stages of life, whether that's healing, moving abroad, and now manifestation. And it's a very exciting topic. So every episode is I'm interviewing different people about techniques and their journey and what could be really helpful because as a life coach, and I work with clients that want to build their dream lifestyle that are surrounded by their values, like that's the focal
Mm-hmm.
point. And when I talk about manifestation, some are on board, some understand, and some have more questions. So I'm glad that I now
Yeah.
have this platform to give that to my clients, say, hey, connect with this
Mm-hmm.
person. Oh, listen to this tip. So that's the purpose of why I'm doing this. So let's get right into it.
Yeah.
And
Sounds good.
great question that I asked my guest right away is how do you define manifestation?
So, this is a great question. And for me, manifestation comes from a pretty spiritual place. And a lot of the things that I'll be talking about today in general kind of are rooted in that for me. So, to me, manifestation is sort of like the meeting point between the divine and the magical, and where that comes together with the physical and more practical. So, obviously, we're in this existence that we can see, feel, hear, everything around us in these physical bodies, the things we create. And to me, the magic is just sort of existence itself and the miracle of all of it, and sort of tapping into the powers that be, no matter how you define it. I can talk a little bit about how I define it, but just really tapping into that greater energy and kind of doing this fun dance between, connecting with that and then bringing it into your physical reality. So it's both, praying, meditating, connecting to that energy, and grinding, doing the work, like actually getting stuff done. And so it's not just one or the other, it's finding this melding between the two.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's going to look differently for all kinds of people. Maybe some
Oh,
people
for
that
sure.
are more rooted into their spirituality, like that might not even really be an issue, or like they already have this foundation of trust and letting
Right.
go, but maybe
Right.
the action part's really hard for them, or vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Totally.
it does sound
Yeah.
like you need both.
Yeah, and I think everybody does need both. That is my personal belief, that to get the furthest and to make the most progress, for me, it really was when I started letting in the divine a lot more. For me, that is when things absolutely started changing. And finding this, yeah, delicate dance is the best way I can say it, and kind of flowing and just sort of staying open to energies outside of the things I'm like trying to make happen. So it's kind of bringing both together. Yeah.
So when people, when people hear manifestation, they usually think about a specific thing, like something tangible or
Mhm.
this really out of reach thing. And do you have any like what could be like maybe the first few core things we need to consider when we're trying to attract something we want?
Mhm.
Curious on your insights on that.
Mhm. I think a lot of it is about being honest with yourself about who you are, what you want, really knowing, seeing it in your mind's eye. So, like you said, it may be far away, but the clearer you can see it, the more you can define it, the more specific you can make it, the more steps you can take today to get there, because you kind of know where you're going. The more you have that idea, you can make a roadmap to getting there, even if it's the smallest, tiniest things every day. They don't have to be these huge, dramatic leaps toward your manifestation. Like for me, the things I've built have been every single day for years. Like this has taken me years to get to this point. And so I think it's being honest with yourself about what you want, really defining what you want, and seeing it in your mind's eye as clearly as you can.
And what would you say to folks that maybe don't know what they want, or maybe they know what they don't want?
Yeah.
How can we help
Yeah.
help them clarify that?
I think a lot of it is sort of what do you find for me? Again, I always take it back to my own personal experience because I feel like that's what I'm qualified to speak to. It's sort of like what has been on your heart
Mm.
for as long as you can remember. So, like for me, I pursued a career in psychology, which was a successful career. I was a good fit for the career. There were so many things that were working well about it. But ever since I was a tiny little girl back in Cleveland, Ohio, I always wanted to be a singer. I always wanted to be a performer. I always wanted to be a music artist. And I sort of like put that to the side in order to do the other big manifestation thing that I wanted to do, which was becoming a doctor, becoming a psychologist, having a career, being a big girl adult, like doing all the things. And so I put it on the side, but it was always on my heart. Like if you would have ever asked me at any moment, like, Hannah, let's be real, what do you really want? If you could do anything in this lifetime, if you had this one lifetime and you could do whatever you wanted with it, I would tell you, I want to be a musician, period. So if you have anything like that, even if you think it's ridiculous, like people led me to believe that that was just such an unrealistic thing, that that was just not attainable. That's not what you do, all these things, but it was on my heart, like
Mm.
strong.
Mhm.
I think if you have something like that, even, and it doesn't have to be a career, it could be just something you want incorporated into your life in any way, like any area of your life, just something that you're like, gosh, I always sort of envisioned this for myself. Or I always, when I see somebody who does that or who has that, I'm always like, man, that would be cool. So I think it's looking for those things. And for me, it's kind of taking it back to childhood and to former versions of yourself and kind of remembering, like, honestly, who you are.
Mhm.
So I would say those are where you can start to look for clues. It's like, gosh, what were the things that you always looked at and you were like, God, I wish I could do that. I would say those are good places to start.
Yeah, and it's like that inner child work. But you touch on some good things I want to point out because you were surrounded by people who didn't believe in you, and
Right.
your environment, I think, in manifestation really matters from a very micro level
Yeah, for
to
sure.
the macro level. And I would imagine we really would need to let go of those beliefs that don't serve us of I can't get this thing. Like tell me more about manifestation in the relationship of letting go
Oh
or
my God,
unlearning maybe.
it's so huge. I mean, to me, that's one of the myths I would debunk about manifestation. I think a lot of times in the community around manifestation, we talk about like the law of attraction and things like that and bringing in what you want. And while that's important, and I am not in any way saying like that's not good or like don't do that, like, yes, that's part of it. But I think that part is more automatic. That part is more natural. You don't have to do much for that, as far as I'm concerned. I think the bigger work, like really where the challenge lies, is in the letting go, exactly like you said. And there's so, to manifest something that seems out of reach, often it's out of reach because there's so many things that we are doing or that we are surrounding ourselves with, or, like you said, people with limiting beliefs or things like that, that are blocking us actually from the life we want to live. It's there's grief there. The letting go is a lot of grief, actually, because you've built up this life around you. This is what you've manifested. Like what you're currently in is what you have already manifested. That is manifestation. Manifestation has already happened. But if you want to change, if you want something different, you need to take an honest look around and say to yourself, like, gosh, like, is what's around me, is what I've manifested supporting what I actually want and what feels like is really true to the core of who I am. And so it is sort of this unlearning of, messages, limiting beliefs, which were maybe well intended, and people couldn't necessarily see your same vision, so they told you things, did things based on what they see in their reality, but it doesn't necessarily jive with you. And so for me, my life looks dramatically different. Like my relationships are completely different. My lifestyle is completely different. My daily habits are completely different. My beliefs are completely different. And they're not fear-based anymore. It creeps in, don't get me wrong, I'm still human, but they're not as fear-based. They're not as negativistic and pessimistic. It's more like everything's possible. Everything really is possible. And so it's kind of surrounding myself with the people, with the environments, with the things that really contribute to that energy.
It sounds like you really let go and purged all of those aspects and those past patterns that aren't
Yes.
aligned with your future, who you're
Yes.
becoming and who you want to
Yes.
be
And
in
who
your
I
life.
really am. And that's painful. It really is. And it's why so many people don't do it. And I think that's important for someone who's like, oh man, I want to manifest this, but it's not happening. I think it's important to keep in mind, like, I feel for you, because it might mean you're having to let go of some things that actually do mean something to you, but they're not aligned with this bigger thing. And so you've sort of got a decision to make. And so that's where I say being honest with yourself is a big part of it.
When I asked you to come on the show and you were really jazzed about it, you said this quote that I really want you to talk about, and it had
Yeah.
to do with Michelangelo.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell the
The
listeners?
Michelangelo thing. Yeah. No, I love this. And I'm gonna mess it up because I'm not the
Okay.
kind of person that remembers things perfectly when I hear them. But I heard this story about how Michelangelo was talking with a critic about his statue David, which is like a masterpiece and everybody loves it. And maybe it wasn't a critic. See, I don't know the details,
That's
but
okay.
he was talking with somebody about it, and basically they asked him, like, how did you do this? Like, this is just like amazing. Like, how could you have possibly created something so beautiful, so flawless? And Michelangelo's response was simply, it was easy. I just took away everything that wasn't David. And it's a kind of funny response, but he meant it sincerely, that it wasn't hard. I just had to start taking away the parts that weren't him. Like as I was sculpting, which is a taking away process, I just started chiseling and chipping away at the parts that just didn't jive with who he was. And so I think why you bring that up is because it's exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what we're doing with ourselves. We're kind of looking at ourselves in the mirror, or journaling it out or whatever we're doing, and we're being real and saying, like, gosh, like, what parts feel like me and what parts don't. And that can be a tough process, but what is revealed underneath is your highest self ultimately, and that's what's going to take you to your wildest dreams.
Yes, I love that. And it sounds like there's just a lot of coming home to yourself when
100%. Yeah.
you find that out, when you know your values, when you just commit to the process too of like, I don't know what page, in 4 years, 10 years is going to look like, sound like, believe,
Yes.
but being open to what that could unfold to, because
Mm-hmm.
anyone could say right now, no matter what they believe in, they can always look back at the yesteryear and be like, wow, I grew a lot. Well, imagine you we're going to grow, period, whether you believe
Yeah.
in whatever anyway.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah.
not make it a positive,
Right.
open-minded experience and of
Right.
what you want to
Right.
create
Authentic. Yeah. To
authentically?
yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that, and again, when you have something on your heart, like I said, and you start chipping away at those things, that's why I say focusing on the attraction is not as important. That will naturally just happen. Like you will be revealed, and those things that will be someday exactly what you're doing. I woke up yesterday motivated to record something for one of the tracks I'm working on. That's what I did with my day. I recorded for my track. Like never in my wildest dreams did I think that's what I would be doing, but I took away the things that were getting in the way of me doing that. And that's what naturally just unfolds. I didn't have to make that happen. It just happened. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, it will happen once you kind of take away the things that are blocking you from it.
absolutely. Well, do you have maybe a technique to use when you manifest, like something that maybe accelerates the process?
I have so many, but one that I know we have talked about, which I think is a really great one to share, is I'm a big believer in timeline work. And the way I see that is connecting and forming like supportive relationships with all different kinds of versions of yourself. So versions of yourself all throughout the timeline of your life, all throughout, your childhood, young adulthood, your future, however long you live, like just building relationships with different versions of yourself and working as a team with all those different versions of yourself and having love for those different versions and, having kindness. And so that's a technique I use all the time, and it's always available. You can always channel that energy and almost, I see it as like having a friendship with those different versions of myself. And so I'll look back to a past version of myself. And I'm convinced I got here, by the way, because I have cheered on former versions of myself. I'm not even kidding. I believe that energy is so strong. I talk to myself in the hardest moments of my life that I've ever been through, which I've had some very, very dark moments. And I really believe this energy, this cheerleading I'm doing for a former version of myself is what has gotten me here. Like that's part of where she got energy to just keep going and to muster up the strength to keep going. Same in the other direction, talking to my future self. She's rooting for me too. And she's giving me guidance and telling me which way to go and saying, hey girl, not that, do this. And so I think that's a way of tapping into your highest self is to talk to these other versions and give her tips, give her love, give her the things you would have needed, ask for direction, ask for guidance, ask for wisdom, ask like, ooh, I could go this way or this way. You'll get an answer. So it's sort of like opening up to different versions of who you already have been or who you will be, and doing the teamwork of that. I think it's super fun actually.
I love that concept a lot, and it's just a very partnership, collaboration, and you're honoring where you've been and
Mm-hmm.
you're recognizing them, you're seeing them, and then you're adding
Mm-hmm.
on that feature of cheerleading too. And
Yeah.
how can someone, you say tap in, I mean, how can someone do that? Like, what would timeline work literally look like? Like,
Yeah.
is it just you like sitting in
Yeah.
a room talking in your head, or are you
It
like,
can be. Yeah, I can give examples of how I do it. So a lot of it is I talk to myself a lot, first of all. So that's part of it, which I actually think is great in building your relationship with yourself, but that's a whole other discussion. So it can be talking to yourself, but it can be like an example, like if I'm going on a run, I've talked to you about this example where I'll be doing a loop and I'll be on a run and it's a really hard run with a really hard hill. I will send a high five, like a literal physical high five, to my future self who has completed the hill, being like, yeah, girl, you fucking did it. And that is exactly what I'll do. And I will receive the high five on the other side. I'll take it back. When I turn around, I'll be like, yeah, you had me. You had my back. You knew I could do it. And I did it, even though it was really hard. And so that's an example, just, kind of a silly example, but I really do feel like you have an energy exchange, a timeline exchange where you're like bridging a gap and you're not alone. You're like with other versions of yourself, and it brings an energy that you should try, honestly. So that's, one example, but things like that, where it's just like, I will, tell a future version of myself, like, girl, not all days are going to be good days. Like I might be having a great day that day. And I'll tell a future version of myself, like, hey, remember like 3 days ago, you were feeling amazing. Like it's going to come back. Like it'll turn around for you. Like just keep the faith. So I will talk to future versions of myself that might struggle. And I'll just give a message and just say, hey, hang in there. And then I will receive it. I'll be like, thanks, girl. Like I'll be like, Yeah, and you don't have to do it out loud. It doesn't have to be like that. But I think you could journal. There's any number of ways I think you could do that.
Yeah. I love that so much. I think that's really unique. Like I haven't really heard that. I mean, I know we're both in psychology, so there is like parts work and
Hmm. Hmm.
all that integration, but this is like a different kind of
Yeah.
fun, playful, very Sagittarius of you. Um just
Sag to my core.
I love it. No, I love it. But yeah, I think if we can make the process really, if we can make manifestation like the to get to where we want to be, to have the thing we want, we can make it more fun
Yes.
at any way possible.
And loving and
Yeah,
kind,
yeah,
because to me these are practices in self-kindness. That's really what it is. These are self-kindness practices, and that looks different from person to person. These are just some ways that I do it, but it might give the listener some ideas about, like, oh, I could try this, or maybe it's not so bad to talk to myself. Maybe that would actually be a nice thing to do and would help me develop the relationship with myself, because I can tell you from experience, it really has the potential to do that.
yeah. One of the tools that I use, not it's this isn't necessarily manifestation related, but it is just in
Yeah.
general that I personally learn uh more I learn quickly, whatever. I learn better when I hear my own voice.
Yeah.
So, if I do like a voice recording of something, of
Mhm.
like a memo, or sometimes I make vlogs, but I'm not
Mhm.
posting them. They're just for
Right.
video
For
diary.
reference. Right.
And then I listen back and then I
Yep.
listen to my own wisdom and I'm like, oh, I didn't even
Totally.
remember saying that. Like,
Totally.
and I've recorded my own affirmations and that's on my phone that if I listen to it versus like hearing a guided meditation from someone else,
Yep.
like Paige has said that you're okay. Well, I guess I'm
Mhm.
okay. Like the brain doesn't know
Yeah.
what's real and what's not.
No, no. And you can hear the emotion, you can hear your tone, and you pick up on things that you're like, oh, I didn't even realize I was feeling that way. It's useful. So I completely agree with that. I love
Yeah.
that.
I would love for you to share a story or two, whatever you feel
Yeah.
called to share about just something that's manifested for you.
So, I mean, God, there's so many things, but I would say the biggest story is about me becoming a music artist, and the most important story to me, because honestly, I feel like this is my hero's journey. Um, but I would say, so rewinding, 5 or so years ago, I was in a pretty rough spot where I was having all kinds of health problems, like pretty debilitating health problems were hitting me pretty hard. During the pandemic, especially, things got really tough for me. I was really dragging myself through. I physically was so ill. I was in just a bunch of toxic relationships that honestly were not good for me at all. I was not prioritizing myself. I was going through severe career burnout. I was really overworking myself, and really questioning, like, what am I even doing this for anymore? Like, I was having a really tough time. I was on an island, by the way, too, just sort of like working by myself and without much support. Just at a low, financial instability, all kinds of things. And I was like desperate. I was like, I don't know what to do. And eventually my body gave up on me and I had to quit my job. I literally couldn't keep working. I was in so much pain that I could not sit in sessions with clients anymore without, I mean, it was just terrible. And I was starting to worry that it would have a negative effect on my clients and things like that. And I was like, got to tap out. I can't do this. And so I went on unemployment for a while, and I started with a therapist and a career coach, and just like, what is my life? What am I doing? And in that, I had, for 20 years almost, I had stopped music altogether, and I just started picking up music again. I was like, well, maybe now that I'm not working, maybe I'll take some voice lessons and get back into it. I started reading a bit about songwriting, learning a thing or two about music production. Just what the hell? Like, why not? And I just started chipping away at it. And I was just like, oh my God, I love this. Like, and I started writing songs, and I was like, and actually, I'm kind of good at this. And I just started discovering myself all over again. And just every single day from that point on, I've been doing something for music every day ever since. And now I'm living in LA. I have a home studio. I record all my tracks. I write, record, produce all my tracks. I'm working with producers to help me bring these songs and ideas to life. I have so many songs written. It's ridiculous. If I had all the money, I would be like releasing so much music. Like I have so much. And I live in LA, which is what I always had dreamed of, in an amazing apartment in Hollywood. Like it's really exciting. So sometimes the worst things that, the low lows that you're just like, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this? That's where the good stuff is. You can build from the ground up, and sometimes you don't even know what you're going to build, and then you start chipping away, and one day you wake up and you're a music artist in LA getting ready to release your EP, and you're like, what? Like, how did this even happen? So I would say that's my coolest. I mean, I have so many, but that's my favorite manifestation story because it's the closest to my heart, and it really does feel like my life's work, especially because it's something people told me I couldn't do. And here I am. So you can do it. Like you really can. And that's the message I would say with that.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. And it's also, yeah, it's definitely a hero story because when I ask guests to share an example,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they say, well, I boarded.
Mm-hmm.
I vision boarded this
Yeah.
for a very, or it was
Right.
on Pinterest forever,
Mm-hmm.
or I did XYZ techniques or whatever,
Right.
which is cool.
Of
Um,
course.
but yours sounds it's an identity thing, I
Yeah.
think. Like, and
It's a
this is
soul thing.
it
Yeah.
is. It's
Yeah.
a soul manifestation that has
Yep.
been evolving. Like this has been going on for like it's not just the career of being a singer. Like there's so much more to this.
Right.
But it clearly has opened doors for you and to now like the things that we desire and the things we wish to create, you have to let go of that old self because that it can't come along for the ride
Yeah.
with you anymore. And that's going to your timeline
Yep.
thing of like, hey, you over there, like, if you're okay, I know we're doing
Yeah.
this together. So that is
Yeah. You're
like,
doing what you got to do over there, but
mhm.
I'm over here and like keep going.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
evolving. Yep.
Because
Totally.
I'm sure, we've all felt that in the moment of, I could regress right now. Like I actually have a choice to go back to my old habit.
Yep.
And you're at this like kind of fork in the road. And this could be a very small thing, by the way. This could
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
I'm choosing to eat whatever, this cake,
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
vegetable,
Over.
something
Yeah.
stupid, but
Right.
like
Right.
you
Right.
you can notice yourself in the moments of your habits too, of
Yep.
just like, I could regress right now.
Yep.
And it's my choice. And it's not, there's no wrong or right.
There's
It's
not.
not about morality. It's
It's
just
not.
your vision of, is this really what
what
you want?
what aligns. Yeah, what aligns,
Mhm.
and does that feel like the person I want to be? Does that feel like who I really am, or is that coming from another place that I
Yeah,
no longer relate to? And
totally.
so it makes those choices a lot easier. The more clear you are with who you are and what you want, those choices, the cake versus the vegetables, they
Yeah,
just get easier. I mean, it's just like it becomes a no-brainer. You might have that instinct and then you're like, nah, not really. And you
totally.
move on. And but that at a point that wasn't easy
Yeah,
because you weren't as clear about who you are and what you want and where you're going and what it takes to get there. So
totally.
the more clear you can become, it does, you do start to just kind of move through your life and you're like, you're just doing the thing.
Well, while we're talking about that, let's briefly mention too about that ownership and keeping yourself accountable. Like
Oh
how
yeah.
important is that?
So important. I mean, I have a mantra that's I have a schedule that I write out every week, and the first line that it says is take 100% responsibility for creating the life you want to live. I remind myself that every single day. Take 100% responsibility for creating the life you want to live. Period. Done. End. You are in charge. You are powerful. You are so powerful. And really, it's up to you to make things happen. It really is. Now, I partner with the divine. It's a team effort, but I have free will. I believe that, people talk about God's plan and things like that. Yes, but God's plan is flexible with your free will. You're here with free will. So it's a team effort. God, the divine, the universe will respond to what you choose to do. It really will. It wants good things for you. But you have to make decisions about who you want to be and how you're going to show up and what you're going to do. And so I think accountability is just kind of the biggest thing in a way. Like, you have to take 100% responsibility. It's very easy to fall into a victim mindset and to think things are happening to us. It's very understandable to fall into a victim mindset. It's kind of comfy to fall into a victim mindset. And in moments when we're feeling lazy or we're feeling tired or, we're kind of beaten down or discouraged, it's easy to say, oh, these things are happening to me. Well, even if they are, so what? It's still your responsibility to do something with it and to move forward in the ways that, are, again, better aligned with what you want to do and what you want your life to look like. So I would say it's huge.
Yeah. And going back to like, if we're not taking accountability, if we're not being responsible, and we can fall into those victim traps and victim mindset also, and like blaming God or blaming other
Yeah.
people. And
Yes.
it's just
External
drama.
anything. Yeah, it
Mhm.
is. And I mean, it's a maturity thing too. No offense to anybody who's dealing with this right now. I think it is a maturity thing. That what I have found for myself is, as I have matured and grown up, the less inclined I feel to do that, because it doesn't really get me anywhere. It's kind of like wasting my time. It's
Mhm.
sort of like, if you want to fast track yourself to the life you want, it is sort of like, grow up, take responsibility. This is the life I have. This is the only time that I'm aware that I'm going to get this human body, that I get to do these things in this set of circumstances. I want to take charge of that. I want to take control of that. I am the captain of my soul, and I'm gladly taking the role. I'm so grateful for the chance to take the role. And that's why I say it's a maturity thing. It's sort of like, hey, this is what comes with it. Like, it's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Yes, you're going to get discouraged at times, but you can do it. You can do it. So just keep going, believe in yourself, believe in your faith, just the universe has your back. And
Mhm.
yeah, so all that.
It's beautiful. It's a very taking charge. Like, I love the captain of your soul. Like, you either ship up or shape out. Like,
Yeah, totally.
there's really no other
Totally.
choice. Like,
Nobody's coming to save you. They're not. Like, they're really not. God's not even coming to save you. Now, yes, to an extent, but you have to step up. You have to say, I'm ready. I'm ready to receive it. Whatever you're going to bring to me, I'm ready. Let's go. You have to have the willingness. Without the willingness, I'm sorry, nobody's coming for you. Like, they're not. So again, it's deciding, it's making your mind up that you're worth it, actually, that you're
mm,
worth it, you're worth fighting for. And so, yes, it's hard, it's supposed to be, like I said, but then at the same time, it's kind of easy too. So it's complicated, because it's a both and. It's sort of like, once you assume the responsibility, it does get easier. Like,
mhm.
once you are willing to face the hard things with gratitude, with humility, with radical acceptance, it does ironically get easier. Actually, it gets a lot easier, because you've already accepted the hard parts, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up, because I could talk to you forever.
Oh my God, same.
But
This is fun for me.
of course, do you have any other like maybe like takeaway or just kind of like one last thing to think about when manifesting your dream lifestyle? Anything else?
Oh my God, so many. But what comes to mind is kind of for those moments when you're more discouraged or feeling down and out and feeling like, God, I don't know if I can do this. What happens to me when I'm in those moments is I catch myself thinking about like all the barriers and all the reasons I can't do something and all the things. No, 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 stop that. Don't think about why you can't do it. Like, once you catch yourself in that mindset, stop. Think about how you can. Now, in the manifestation community, a lot of times we hear things like, don't worry about the how, whatever, it'll kind of fall into place. Yes, yes. And also, you have to be willing and open to the how. You have to be ready for it. I would say looking for it. Looking for is like taboo in manifestation community, but like I disagree with that. I think we are looking for things in life. I think that's part of it. That's part of our free will, is to search for whatever it is that fulfills us. And so it's kind of like putting your little antennas up, like you're putting your antennas out, like, okay, I'm ready to receive the how. And so just getting in that mindset, like asking your higher self how, asking God how, asking your future self how, like just asking. And the way will be shown to you, maybe not immediately, although a lot of times it is, by the way, for me. Like when I start to ask how, I'm like, God, I don't know how, like what am I going to do? And I'll just stop and take a moment and be like, and then like 30 seconds later, I'm like, oh. And so sometimes it's actually more immediate than you think, but
Yeah.
other times it's not. Other times the divine will sort of fill that in for you. And then you'll be like, oh, that's the how. It's a flexibility, it's an openness, it's a willingness, but it's not letting yourself indulge in the I can't.
Yeah.
Don't stay there. Don't stay stuck there. It's okay to have those feelings come up. It's okay to look at those things, but try to see, how can I transform those into not barriers? Like, how can I let those things go or do it in a different way? So,
I
yeah.
love that. Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't be open to the how, folks, and
Yes.
the divine will take care of you. Keep working on your beliefs, believe in yourself. Thank you so much, Hannah, for
Oh,
taking
you're
time to talk
welcome.
about this. I really appreciate it. Did you have fun today?
Oh, yeah. I love this.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Anytime, girl.
Thank you so
Yes.
much and good luck. Make sure to look out. How do you spell Aslyn?
Aslyn. Adalyn Aslyn.
Yep, make sure to Google, look out for that. I'm so excited for your journey.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much again, Hannah, for taking the time to share your words of wisdom today. And for
Of
all the
course.
listeners out there, if this episode truly resonated with you, make sure to share it on your socials. And I can't wait to see what unfolds. So remember, every single day provides a lesson. Take care, and I'll see you next time.